Once Mark was done painting the engine, then we could go ahead and put all the bolt-on stuff like the power steering, the alternator, and the other components and all the fasteners so that the engine's ready to go back in the car.
Now again, just because we're building a tribute to a famous movie car doesn't mean you don't do it right from the standpoint of how it left the assembly line. This car got the sway bar. It was actually on it when it came apart. I look at that rear suspension now, almost 10 years later, and I can see a big mistake we made. We, back then, we being I, thought that the backing plates were like a yellow chromate. They weren't yellow chromate, they were a natural metal finish. Tony showed me that, I didn't know. Even though this is a tribute car, I wanted to do all of the suspension markings, all the assembly line markings, because if somebody bought the car down the road, they might just want a really nice, correct, black 71 Cuda. So I did do all the assembly line markings on the front suspension, rear suspension, transmission, engine, everything on the car is as it would have appeared in 1971 as an original 344 speed car.
When Mark or Justin will go around a car and do all the assembly line markings, I have no clue what they mean. But I love that attention to detail, even though it's a tribute, to go through and mark everything and label everything, putting the little tags on the blinkers and the visors and the rear end. Absolutely one of my favorite parts of these cars.
Once the drivetrain was done, we were ready to assemble it into the car. Now, we had just at that time got our shop crane lift. I realized there was a weight capacity on it, and I don't pay attention to that stuff. I do what I want to do. I wanted to lower that car down like the factory did, and we did. We lowered it down like we do now, but we use bin packs. In this case, we jigged up the front and rear bumper mounting areas and lowered the car down onto the suspension.
We're gonna let it down now and roll it into the assembly room and get started on it.
So what I did was I just cut everybody loose and said, rock and roll, we gotta get this thing done. Now, one of the liberties, as Tony D'Agostino would say, this car got were the billboard graphics. I installed those myself. They came out malissimo. That goes back 10 years ago almost. Another option that we added to the car because the owner wanted it is the vinyl top. He thinks they look sexy. I think they look sexy with a vinyl top too, especially with rear window louvers and the car being all black. It really made it a quadruple black at that point.
When it comes to the vinyl top, being a black car, black vinyl top, the billboards, the rear window louvers, which I don't like, and I don't like spoilers, but all those options really match well together.
Here's an interesting little tidbit. If you ordered a car from the factory with the backlight louvers, the rear window louvers, it was mandatory to have a black reveal molding on the back glass. And they weren't just smooth, they were the same ones a Grand Coupe would have got. They were textured. The ones I put on the car were smooth because I didn't have a set of Grand Coupes laying around we could paint black. But that was factory mandatory. With window louvers, you got back glass reveal moldings in black.
Back window louvers installed, 15 minutes. Would have took the idiots all day long.
Now here we're getting close to the punchline, folks.
I am not getting up and out again. I'm tired of it. Royal, get the phone.
My favorite part of the entire process was while we were putting the car together, we had posted on the internet that we were doing some of this stuff.
Welbies.
A certain gentleman reached out via a phone call to me and wanted to discuss the Phantasm Cuda.
This Mark, how would I know if you're doing an impersonation of him?
When I answered that phone, I did not think that was Don Coscarelli. I thought it was somebody pulling my leg, right? I thought somebody maybe saw the episode earlier when I did that to Josh. I don't know how many of you remember that. Some of my best impressions.
Heard of this, Josh?
Yeah, hey, how you doing today?
Heard of this, Josh?
Hey, how you doing today? It's old Bill Tanksley over here in Glenwood. You happen to have one of those double 5/8 3/4 inch double platinum chrome reverse Molly screwdrivers in stock, sir?
How you doing there? Bill Schneedley here, American Sound and Light Plumbing Division.
But it turns out it was absolutely Don Coscarelli.
It's nice to meet you.
And he's a fan of the show, and he wanted to come up and check out the Phantasm car himself with the lead actor, A. Michael Baldwin.